Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head back to Spain for the first time in what seems like a good little while actually, and we're going to go back to a brewery who I've reviewed a good few things from before. I think this must be the 5th or 6th review involving them, but you know, the Spanish beer scene is very strong these days, and these guys are probably one of the most recognisable Spanish breweries at the moment. So for this review then, we are going to return to Navarro, just to the south of Pamplona, and we're having a look at what must be my 5th or 6th beer from Naparbier, but it's also the first one that I've had in a can actually. This is called the Slip Hop, and it's a hazy double IPA coming in at 8% ABV. And we got this one in Sweden through the Tillfällig sortiment, or Small Partiers as it was formerly known, in Systembolaget on the 24th of January 2020. So really curious to see how this one turns out. I think this is also the heaviest beer in terms of alcohol and things that I've had from these guys before as well, but I've had very good experiences with them in the past. As I said, the Spanish craft beer scene is very, very strong these days, and it's always interesting to try new things from down there as well. So hopefully you guys enjoy my take on this one, and hopefully this is another good beer from Naparbier. So as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Naparbier before. Hopefully I can add some more at some point in the fairly near future. I'm sure we'll get more through the Tillfällig sortiment, but we'll see how it goes. There's all the usual social media down there too. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, province, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for the Spanish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, but not as often as I would like. I'd love to go to Spain and try some more of the lesser known craft breweries and things. That's definitely something for the future. But as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Naparbier then, on to my brewery notes. So as I've told you before, Naparbier are based in Noáin in Navarro in Spain, just to the south of Pamplona, but they're not actually inside the Basque country. I made that mistake in one of my early reviews from this brewery. But the company itself was founded back in 2009 by 4 entrepreneurs. This was Juan Rodriguez, Josu Taninye, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Chera Aistui, and also Jose Javier Rodriguez. I do apologise for the Spanish pronunciations, a language that I've never studied at all. But these 4 guys unfortunately found themselves unemployed when Spain had its economic difficulties, and so they decided to move forward with starting their own business, and they pulled together their unemployment insurance money and used that to get the infrastructure together for the brewery. So they started off with a very small warehouse of only 150 square metres and a very modest capacity, and in the early days they were helped by a German brewer called Alex Schmidt, and that kind of went on to influence the name of the brewery as well. So Napar is apparently a sort of recognition that the brewery is from Navarro. It means something like that, and beer of course is the German word for beer. But they expanded a bit later in 2012. They moved to a larger facility where they could produce around 500,000 litres of beer per year, and in the early days they did a number of collaborations with Scandinavian and European breweries, notably with Jeppe Bjergso, who is now the big boss at Evil Twin, and he did a lot to help them get their exports going, from what I understand. But in 2014 they expanded the brewery again, and they're now joined by 2 more partners. This is Alex from Madrid and Sven Bosch, who's from Barcelona. He's involved at the Beer Cab bar, and over the last few years, since 2014, they've continued to expand the brewery and also increase their exports as well. And as of January 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, they've produced just under 100 different types of beer according to Untappd. You know, not the most accurate of things, but it does give you a good barometer, as I say. The artwork on the cans was originally designed by Antonio Bravo, who is Spanish of course, but these days it's done by Javier Forne, and I have to say it's pretty nice and pretty distinctive, I have to say. So yeah, a really nice brewery this one. I think most of the beers that I've had from them have been IPAs of some description, so it would be really nice to try something a little bit darker from them at some point soon. But it does seem to be that we get the IPAs and stuff like this. But as I said to you, the Spanish beer scene is very strong these days. Barcelona over in Catalonia is a very, very strong beer city. Madrid has a lot of things going on these days, and you know, the other cities around Spain, Valencia and Sevilla and all these kind of things. From what I gather, Vigo, Vigo is in Spain. You know, these guys, there's a lot of stuff going on in all the different cities, and Spain is very famous for its food, of course. I really need to get down there and explore it at some point. I've played the Spanish guitar since I was very young, but I've never actually been to mainland Spain. That's something that I really, really need to fix. But if you get the chance to try some Spanish beers, I highly recommend you do. You are going to get a very, very good experience out of a lot of these breweries. Like I say, it tends to be the case that countries that are very good at winemaking are good when it comes to beer as well. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about Naparbier for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website, which you'll find in the description below. The Facebook and Instagram are down there. You can follow those to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can look at Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate to see information on some of the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's get on and have a taste of this one then. I'm really curious to see how this turns out. So this beer apparently is hopped with Idaho 7, Citra and Topaz. Citra, of course, we know, the famous American hop. Idaho 7 is one that's become very popular over in America these days. It's you know, it gives you a lot of nice kind of stone fruity notes. It's also known for being quite piney and resinous as well, and it also has this Australian topaz in it as well. When I saw the name Topaz, I had it in my head that it was from New Zealand, but I checked it and it's from Australia. Originally Topaz was used as a bittering hop. I think it was brought out right around 2008, something like that, but they're saying these days it's used as an aroma kind of flavour hop because it has some really good kind of lychee and soft tropical fruit flavours in it. So hopefully we see some of that in this beer. But yeah, let's have a look at it then. You can see the artwork on this one. You know, Naparbier seem to have this sort of skeleton, almost Tim Burton-like theme to their artwork, which is really distinctive and very nice. As I said to you, this one is the first beer I think that I've had in a can from Naparbier, if I'm remembering correctly. It's 440 millilitres. I think this beer might have been like, it was either 45 or 50 crowns, it was something like that. I think it might have even been 48, but yeah. Nice looking beer, this one, nicely presented, and definitely cool to try another one in a can, of course. So without further ado, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. The Slip Hop, a hazy IPA coming in at 8% ABV, and as I say, you know, awesome to try some different Spanish beers as well. The last Spanish beers that I did, that I reviewed, were the ones from, was it Mallorca? Yeah, Mallorca, that my friend Hannah brought me, so a big thank you to her for making those reviews possible once again. But I don't know if those will have published by the time that this one will be out there, so if you might see those a little bit later on. But yeah, as you can see with this one, this is a really bright yellow hazy IPA. This is one of the brightest yellow ones I've seen actually. So there's a solid finger of a frothy, perfect white head on that one, a really bright white head actually. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you've got a lovely kind of hazy quality to this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head there, but overall it looks really pretty nice actually. One of the brighter New England IPAs that I've come across, or hazy IPAs I should say, in recent times, and it's got some lovely tropical fruit notes coming off it. So let's have a closer look at that aroma then and see how we go on, but nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. So let's look at that aroma. Oh yeah, that smells really nice. Straight away for me with this one, you've got the mango and the kind of passion fruity notes coming out of this one. It's got a little bit of a kind of papaya type thing going on as well, which I think is the Idaho 7. It could be a mix of both the Idaho 7 and Citra, right enough. I mean, if you want a nice kind of soft, juicy, tropical fruit New England IPA, then you know those are two hops that you definitely want to go for. They'll complement each other really nicely. Citra's got all those lemon, lime, lychee, gooseberry type complexities depending on what you put in the malt base, right enough. And Idaho 7 is getting more and more popular these days. Like I say, it's mainly known for its kind of resins and its kind of stone fruity characters. So for me, yeah, you get a little bit of that darker kind of passion fruity note out of it, and I think that'll be more the Idaho 7, but you know, in fairness, Citra can give you some of that as well. But yeah, some juicy, big juicy mangoes, definitely a little bit of a kind of papaya, apricot-y sort of note in there as well. There's a wee bit of a kind of lemony, zesty kind of character for me as well. I think that's more likely to come from the Citra, but you do get that kind of lychee, juicy, gooseberry kind of quality as well, and that will be both from the Citra and from the Topaz. You know, the Topaz is a hop that I haven't encountered all that much. Even when I was in Australia and reviewing Australian beers, I don't think I encountered it all that much, to be honest with you. So hopefully, you know, as I say, I've got a good bit of experience with Citra. Idaho 7, as I say, I've had some experience with quite recently, but Topaz, really not a lot. But I think you can smell the influence of that one on here. I mean, it's got a really nice kind of grassy quality to it as well. The green side of the hops for me are actually quite bright and grassy. I'm not getting that sort of danky, resiny quality that you're supposed to get from the Idaho 7 in this one. I find this to be a quite soft and grassy green side of the hops. Actually, there's a teeny little bit of earthiness in there, some floral notes too, but to me it comes across as very juicy IPA with some nice soft kind of grassy notes as well. But I really like how that goes together. It smells really, really nice. In terms of the malt base then, for me, you can definitely smell there is a wee bit of a slightly kind of almost farmhousey note to this one. If I compare this to the American breweries, the aroma that comes out of the malt base here reminds me a little bit more of Alchemist than like Treehouse or Trillium. I've not tried anything from Hill Farmstead yet, but it's got that more kind of rusticy, farmhousey vibe that you would find with Alchemist, rather than the creaminess of Trillium, or the creaminess of Treehouse rather, and the more kind of wheaty, bitey sort of thing of Trillium. But yeah, definitely some oaty smoothness in there, but not too prominent. Maybe a little bit of biscuit, but to me it's got that kind of rusticy and farmhousey type yeasty quality. Little bit, little tiny bit herbal, little bit vegetal, but quite, almost like grainy and bready sort of thing. So yeah, quite an interesting malt base, but I would say the more you smell of it, the more it leans towards the oats in my mind. So it really smooths out. The aroma of this one in the malt base smooths out very, very nicely. So I really like how that goes together. That's a really interesting smelling beer, this one. Quite different from a lot of the other hazy IPAs that I've had in recent times, and that's always a good thing. When you're reviewing beers, you want things to test your palate a little bit. So take a bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one, but we are going to have a taste of this one now. This one is the Slip Hop, an 8% hazy New England IPA, whatever you want to call it, from Naparbier in Noáin, near Navarro, in the northern part of Spain, just outside of the Basque country. Let's get stuck into this one. Sláinte, skål, salud. Yeah, this is definitely one of the kind of smoother and more drinkable double IPAs that you're going to come across, to be honest with you. For an 8%er, that's ridiculously easy to drink. I'm just going to see how much, if there's any more sediment to this at the bottom. Not really, actually. No, it looks pretty much the same, to be honest with you. But for an 8%er, that's crazily drinkable. But I mean, the factor you have to consider there, of course, Spain is a very hot country compared to Sweden, so to some degree they're going to want their beers to be light and drinkable. You've heard me say that when it comes to Japanese beers as well. They like, to them, beer just has to be crisp and drinkable. But this, the lightness of this for a hazy double IPA is crazy, actually. It's interesting. But in fairness, since I put that little drop in there, there's still a teeny bit left in the can. I just want to see what this is like at its sort of maximum possible thickness. It does thicken up slightly, but even still, it's a very, very light, drinkable hazy double IPA. If I was blind tasting this, I would never guess that was I wouldn't guess that that's a double IPA. I would maybe even go as far as saying it comes across like a kind of hazy session IPA, to be honest with you. I mean, to be able to cover the alcohol that well is pretty impressive, but at the same time it's quite dangerous. But yeah, that's a really interesting point about this beer. Crazily drinkable. But yeah, this one, it comes across really nice and very smoothly actually. I'd say this isn't the boldest of beers that I've had from Naparbier before. Some of the other ones I've had have been a bit more bitey and hoppy and things like this, but as a drinkable beer, you know, there's nothing wrong with it in that regard. It's quite nice and it's well crafted, and that's all you can really ask for. But I would say that it's not the boldest of beer that I remember having from Naparbier, right enough. But let's try and break down the flavour a little bit and describe it. So yeah, in the middle of the palate then, you can feel a little bit of that kind of yeasty quality. That blankets the middle of your palate. It's a lot smoother than the aroma I think would have you believe, but you do get just a very slight hint of that kind of farmhousey thing. The further you go into the aftertaste, towards the back of the palate, you'll feel some of the kind of grainy, more farmhousey qualities coming out of this one, but as you move further forward, you can really feel the kind of oaty creaminess coming out of this one. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of like dextrose or something like this. It's not lactose, I don't think it's quite creamy enough to be lactose, but there is, further forward on the palate, you've got the oaty creaminess, and I think some like dextrose or something like that just underneath it. There's maybe a little bit of wheat in there, kind of sitting underneath that too. I don't know if it tells you on the can if it's, some of them, sometimes they don't put wheat in the things, but yeah, it says, yeah, there's oats and wheat malt in this one. So the wheat they've got in this is very, very smooth. Quite often with some wheats, you can have them being a little bit bitey and things like that, almost a little bit astringent, but the wheat that's in here comes out more towards the front of the palate, and it's very smooth. I think the things towards the back of the palate are a bit more kind of yeast associated, if you like, but there's a wee bit of a biscuity quality in the very centre of your palate as well. But yeah, this beer smooths out very nicely, but by no means is this the thickest of hazy IPAs that you're going to come across. But like I say, I wonder how much that is attributed to the climate. But that said, I have had some pretty thick and gloopy IPAs from Spain before. Also some very good West Coast IPAs too. Basqueland Brewing Project's one was one that really sticks to mind. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, a little bit of earthiness there. As you come further forward, it's very smooth, it's almost a little bit herbal, and then it gets a little bit more floral towards the front corners of the tongue, and then round the very front curve of the palate, it's just that little bit lighter and more grassy. I'm not really getting those kind of piney, resinous notes that I expected from the Idaho 7. The green side of this beer does lean more towards the lighter, grassy side of things. There's a wee bit of a floral character there, but mainly it's quite smooth, this one actually. This beer generally strikes me as a very kind of smooth, hazy IPA. But yeah, the way that the fruits, the unique point about this one for me, other than the smoothness, is the way that the fruits come out. So as I always say, the fruity esters come out in that little oily bubble behind the front curve of the palate. So for me, if you go towards the back of that, you get a little bit of the darker kind of tropical fruit note. So it's quite, to me, it's quite passion fruity. It's not dark enough to be grapefruit, but as you move further forward from that, there's some nice mango-y notes there. There's some sort of papaya and apricot-y kind of flavours too, but as you reach the front part of the palate, to me it's got a little bit of a limey note to it, which is interesting. I think the lime is most likely to come from the Citra rather than the other ones, and the other flavours that are in there, that'll be a mix of both the Citra and the Idaho 7. Citra will give you the mangoes right enough, but I think the kind of papaya apricot things might come more from it'll be a mixture of both that, but I think it might be coming more from the Idaho 7 because it just feels a little bit darker. But the further you go into the aftertaste, you do get some of the kind of juicier tropical notes out of this, and I can see why they would say that Topaz has the lychee flavour, because it does get a little bit lychee and gooseberry like the further that you go into the flavour. Some of those flavours that I'm talking about, the lighter tropical notes, you know, that might well be the Topaz in there. As I say, I don't have so much experience with that hop, but this was a very soft, juicy, kind of drinkable New England IPA. It's just the smoothness of this is ridiculous for an 8%er. This is it's crazy how smooth this beer is. But yeah, it gets a bit wetter the further you go into the aftertaste as well, and the more that I drink of it, the more I get those lychee. So I really think it leans towards that lychee rather than the gooseberry notes that I was picking out, but a little bit of the darker stone fruity, passion fruity kind of thing comes out more when you drink more of it as well. But I like how that beer goes together. As I say, this isn't the boldest one that I've had from Naparbier, but it's well done and it's nice and drinkable, and you can't really ask for much more than that. But as I say, I have had beers that are a little bit more kind of punchy from Naparbier. So yeah, I would like to try something on the dark end of the spectrum from these guys. As I always say, when you want to see how good a brewery is, you need something from the lighter end and also something from the darker end of the spectrum too. But in terms of the mouthfeel, this is it's at the bottom end of mid-bodied for me. Yeah, bottom end of mid-bodied. The carbonation's really smooth, and I think generally it's a very smooth, it's not quite a creamy beer, it just comes across as very, very smooth, to be honest. The malt base, like I said, there's a little bit of dryness towards the back of the palate, but as you come further forward it smoothens out, and it does thicken up a little bit the more you drink of it as well. There's a teeny bit of sweetness in there. In terms of the hoppy bitterness, I think you'd be lucky to get 25 or 30 IBUs out of this one. I think it's pretty standard, to be honest with you. In fairness though, when you go further into the aftertaste, I think you do get a little more of the kind of floral, spicy notes out of it, which I guess is the Idaho 7. I don't find it resinous though, I do find it more kind of floral and bright, but you've also got a nice, juicy, smooth, fruity quality to this one as well. So overall, this is a really nice, it's a nice tasting, juicy and smooth New England double IPA. Not the boldest that I've had from Naparbier, but a nice kind of sipper, to be honest with you. But when it's 8%, I think you'll find this one quite light for the thing. I don't know how much of that is to do with the climate, because Spain, of course, is a very, very hot country generally. But yeah, definitely interesting to return to these guys after a little while. I've enjoyed reviewing this beer. Cool to get acquainted with the Topaz hop again, pardon me, which gives you some really nice softer tropical fruit characteristics. I can really see that with it. But yeah, an interesting beer to review, so I hope that you guys have enjoyed my take on this one. As I said, I'd love to review Spanish beers a little bit more regularly. The problem is just getting a hold of them. They don't seem to make it up here to Scandinavia all that often, so I'm just going to have to go down there. Not that I'm complaining, but yeah, really nice one this. So yeah, really nice and drinkable. You know, you could session a few of these and I'm sure you'd have a very good night. But yeah, interesting to return to this brewery, so I hope that you guys have enjoyed my take on this one. I can feel this going to my head a little bit. I guess it's one of these ones that hits you a bit later. But yeah, thank you again for watching my reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Naparbier as well. Do give me some other Spanish breweries that I should check out and see if I can get a hold of. But it's been cool to return to this brewery again, and I look forward to my next beer from them. Thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you guys very soon. This is the Slip Hop, an 8% hazy New England double IPA, very, very light, ridiculously drinkable for its alcohol, from Naparbier in Noáin, Navarro in the north of Spain. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you guys soon. Slanju, skål, salut.